Hi everyone, this is video number 2 for your GCSE RE exam on Buddhism. The topic for this video is the Five Khandas. So let's have a little look to see what our learning outcomes are. Describe what the Five Khandas are, explain the Five Khandas in relation to living things, and evaluate the Buddhist concept of the Five Khandas. Khandas, now that's our first key word. What does it mean? The 5 constituent parts of a human being, essentially the 5 things which make us up, 5 things which make us who we are. Anatta, hopefully you'll be able to remember that keyword from the previous video. The exam board's definition is the denial of a permanent self or soul. So here's a little exam question that came up in 2011. Do you think the 5 khandas are important? Now for this, what you have to be able to do is give your own opinion, but to give 2 developed reasons to get full marks, and that's obviously what we're aiming for. So ask yourself right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident would you feel about answering that question? The idea is that by the end of this video you'll feel a good deal more confident. So essentially it boils down to a question of what is it that makes us who we are. Now Christians, Muslims, Hindus and Jews, as we saw in a previous video, all say that what the thing that makes us who we are is our soul, which is eternal. Now Buddhists, as we also saw last time, reject the idea of an eternal soul. So what is it they say makes us who we are? Well, the Buddhist idea is that we are made up of 5 different parts, can be translated as heaps. Now it's very important that we don't confuse this topic, the 5 khandas, with other concepts. There are lots of numbers in Buddhism, and there is something called the 5 panthals, which we'll come to later on in a different video. Some of you in your RE mock confuse the two. What I'd like you to do when you look at the word khandas is see that the word sand is actually an anagram within it, and that will hopefully help you remember the term, because on RE Super Learning Day I got 5 different types of multicoloured sand and put them in 5 heaps around this empty person, this person without a soul, to try and describe the concept. We'll return to that little activity in a minute. So the 5 khandas, the 5 heaps, what are they? Rupa, form, material form, something that can be sensed, something physically real. Vedana, sensations, our ability to sense the world around us. Sanjna, perception, our ability to recognize objects and things. Samskara, mental formations, our responses to the things that we recognize, the things that we sense. And finally Vijnana, which is consciousness or awareness. Now the Buddha taught that human beings are made up of these 5 khandas and nothing else. These 5 khandas are always changing, and the Buddhist argument goes like this: therefore a permanent self or soul does not exist. The Buddhist word for this is anatta, as we already know. So the Buddha taught that a permanent self or soul does not exist. That's a summary. What we take to be a permanent self or soul is an illusion created by the interaction of the 5 khandas. So on our Super Learning Day, what I did was take these 5 heaps of multicoloured sand and then mix them all together in a little jar down there, you can see, and then I sprinkled them back onto our person, and what we ended up with was something which looked very dissimilar to what we started off with, but there's nothing here other than these 5 heaps of sand, but when you mix them up it looks like something different. And what I'd like you to do when you're trying to think about this idea that the self or a soul can be an illusion is think of a rainbow. So when you look at a rainbow, it looks like it's real, it looks like it's something you could reach out and touch, but we all know that that isn't actually the truth. A rainbow is a type of illusion which is created by the interaction of sunlight, rain and our eye. So a dog, for example, would not see the rainbow in the same way. So I know it's a very difficult concept, but hopefully you'll have some idea about the 5 khandas and be able to describe them. If not, then just replay the video until you fully understand this concept, and you can genuinely give this the Mr. Powers tick. Now if we move on to our next learning outcome, explain the 5 khandas in relation to living things. Now we've already done that a little bit, but I want to take it a bit further. So here we have an apple. The apple has a physical form, and you have a physical form. You can sense the apple. If it was in your hand right now, you could touch it, you could taste it, you could smell it, and if you threw it up and caught it, you could hear it, or if you bit into it, you could hear that crunchy sound. Sanjna is perception, our ability to recognise things. So we can all see that this is an apple. Mental formations is our response to the things that we sense. So we may see the apple and think, oh, I'm hungry, I'd like to eat the apple. That's samskara. And then finally we have consciousness. So we can be aware of the form of the apple, the sensations we have from it, our perception of it, and our desire to eat it. But from the Buddhist point of view, all of these things, forms, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, they do not equal a permanent self or soul. They create the illusion of a permanent self or soul. So maybe you can now explain the five khandhas in relation to living things. If not, replay the video until you can give that to Mr. Parastika as well. Now finally we're going to evaluate this concept of the five khandhas. So the exam question at the start asked us, do you think the five khandhas are important? So on the one hand, well, taken together, the five khandhas are the things that make up a human being. That's what a Buddhist would say, so therefore they are important. By understanding the five khandhas, we can see that a permanent self or soul does not exist. That's an extension of the same point there. On the other hand, what makes us who we are is our soul. Somebody might very well have that as an opinion. And the five khandhas, according to Buddhism, are all impermanent. The soul is eternal, therefore it must be what's really important. So if we look at this question again, do you think the five khandhas are important? How confident would you feel now about getting 4 marks from 2 developed reasons on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, ask yourself that question. Here's a little bit of extra help though, so a model answer. Yes, because the five khandhas are the things that make a human being, i.e. material forms, sensations, perceptions, mental formations and responses, and consciousness. That's one developed reason. They are also important because the five khandhas which make us who we are constantly change. Therefore, by understanding the five khandhas, we can see that a permanent self or soul does not exist. That's 2 developed reasons, 4 out of 4. However, you may be of a totally different opinion, so here's a no answer. No, because according to Buddhism, human beings are only made up of 5 khandhas: material forms, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. I believe that what makes us who we are is our soul. This is what my religion tells me. That's one developed reason. Also, Buddhism says that all 5 khandhas are impermanent. None of them can, therefore, be as important as my eternal soul, which I believe will live forever in either heaven or hell when I die. That is 2 developed reasons, 4 out of 4. So, we have there evaluated the Buddhist concept of the 5 khandhas, or I've presented to you 2 different sides of an argument. You have to make up your own mind to properly evaluate that. Now, let's quickly test ourselves on these key words. Anatta. Here's the clue. The definition: the denial of a permanent self or soul. Khandhas, what is it? The 5 constituent parts of a human being. Vedana, what is it? Sensations. Sanjna, what is it? Perception, one of the 5 khandhas. Samskara, there's a clue. Mental formations. Vijnana, there's your clue. Consciousness. So those are our learning outcomes. Replay this video until you feel that you can genuinely meet all of them, and then when you have done that, it's time to go on to the next video, which is the Wheel of Existence. Okay, thanks a lot for listening, guys.